Okay guys, welcome back to the session again. So far we have learned data access layer, which is um, to adding the entities into the class library. And also we added independent models for respective tables, and also the service layer and web API. So now I'm planning to create UI, so that the very first session I showed you like how to create a tables and insert, update, delete, and alter scripts. So that way we are using those tables in order to create a multiple projects, which is different layers. And now I want to create a UI so that users can do any database operations from the UI. So let's go back and create a new project. And let's take the web API since it is in a UI. So it is related to the web projects, which is serverinfo.ui, and click OK. And for now, take the empty project. So, and also select the MVC. I would prefer empty, but if you want, you can select the MVC so that all the predefined styles, classes, and everything to be available. But I usually practice the empty one, so I'm taking that. And if you want to add the units, you can also add it here. It creates a separate project for the UI tests. So I'm not using for now, and I'll go with MVC empty project and click OK. So now it creates serverinfo.ui project in a bit a second. So now it is created a project, server info, and all the routing mechanisms in the routing config.cs file. So these are the default routing, which is a controller / action / IDs if you're passing the IDs. So basically it is coming from the route collection routes. And then controllers, models, and if you want any UI specific models, you can add it here in the views. So let's go back and create a controller and then add a new controller, which is MVC, either empty controller or the read write. So for now, I am taking the read write since we want to create new records and update records and everything. So let's take this and add, and then give the name is a server since it is we are showing the server information into the UI. So I would say the naming should be the same so that everyone should understand. So now it creates all the default templates, which is index, create, and create post method. The same thing for edit and edit post method, and delete post method. So now the index is used to display the list of all the servers which is available in the database. For example, if you have any data, if multiple records and multiple columns, so it is a table servers, whatever the information I want to show it in the UI. So since it is returning the view and go to view, so you do not have a view right now, and then click on the add view, and it is an index view, and then create a list because you want to show the multiple servers into the same page. In the models, you have to take the independent model which is we created here. So for now, we want to use independent model which is used in the service, web API, and also the UI. So let's go back and add it into the UI so that it displays into the UI. Go to the projects and solution where you could see the server.model, and then click OK. So now it's created server info.model. Go back here and click add view and select the template, which is a list, and the model is server model since we added as a reference. So now it's creating the view. Okay, all right, so the index view is created. If you go back here, and you could see the views folder in the server. Server is a controller, that's why it's created a server folder, and then index is a view. Since this model is not giving, so what you can do is you can refer it in explicitly at the rate using. So the beauty of this razor is if you keep the @ symbol, and then you can write any C# code. So server info dot model, and for now you can take this off so that it's a server model, and it creates all the header information, which is a server ID, server name, host name, the similar way the one how we created in the model. So we use the header server ID, server name, and the same way we are creating it here. Let's go back to this, and it's created the names, and also if you the records it displays into here all the rows. So now go back to the controller, which is server controller, and then what you need is right now you have to call the how you are getting the data is. So as I told you before, so we are using the layer, so the mostly we are getting all the operations from the web API. So get servers list from web API call. So in order to call the web API, first let's create a in the web.config app settings, let's create web API URL. Define the API URL here, which is add key equal to web API and value equal to HTTP local. I think let's go back here and go to the web API project and properties. And if you go to the web, there is application, build, and web. Go to the web and then copy here, and then come back here and keep it as the web API URL. And also the API/server, which is a routing, which if you go to the server in the web API project server controller, where you could see the route prefix, which is a API/server. Let's add that here, so that you know, like you're pretty much calling the API servers information. So now come back here and how to call the web API. So you have to use the HTTP client. So where client equal to new HTTP client, and then control dot and see like if you have any reference. So for now you do not have a reference. So what you have to do is you have to add the reference, which is inheriting from the system.net.http. So go to the assemblies and then type the system, and then you could see system.net.http here, net and net.http. So you can select system.net.http. So you add it here and then control dot, and now you could see you're getting here. So for now I want to use using statement, using client, then client dot base address equal to new URI of URL. So for the URL you can declare here, which is a string URL equal to configure. So the web API URL you can get it from the web.config app settings. So for that you have to use the configuration manager class and then do the control dot, inheriting from the reference, which is the system.configuration. You add that and then take the app settings of web API URL, not to string. Since it is a string, the URL is in a string. So now this is an URL and you add it here in the base URL. So right now you added the URL. So now what you have to do is you have to use the once you add the base address, now let's take the response, which you are taking from you're getting the response from the web API. So use the client dot get async of the URL is, since it is the URL base URL is URL plus the servers. The reason why we are taking the servers, if you go to the web.conf web API and server controller, where you could see we added the API slash server into the web.config. And now if you want to get the list of servers, your route name is servers. So that's why we added the servers here. The URL is something here. So now the response, if response dot is status code. So the status success code is coming from HTTP response message. And if you take the here dot is success status code. So status code is 200 and 200, which is a HTTP status code. You have to use that. For now, since this is asking the threading, which is asynchronous calls, since it is asynchronous, you have to, and if you highlight here, it is asking threading.task.task. So for the task, you have to add the task here for the method. And since it is asking the reference, you can do the control dot, which is getting from the threading.task. Add that, and let's make it as an asynchronous call. And since it is so that it will be asynchronous, then let's do the result, which is equals to response dot content response dot content dot read byte array or stream or string. So let's take the string, which is so that you get the data into the result. And then now, for now, since the servers returning is a server model, which is a list of server models, let's take the IEnumerable of server model, then make it as a control dot, which references servers equal to null. Let's declare as a null value, and then take the servers, which equal to, now since the data is coming from web API is a JSON result, so you have to convert it as a convert into the .NET object. So JSON convert. Since you do not have it, let's go back here. Okay, let's go back here into the project and go to the manage NuGet packages. And since you need Newtonsoft JSON in order to JSON convert method to work, so select this and 315 million, and then now install. So it is installing into the server.info.ui project. So now this is installed, and now go back and then do the control dot. Okay, think. Okay, now it is installed, and then rebuild. For now, it is not installed newtonsoft.json. Let's go back and see. Some reason it is not installed properly. Let's go back and manage NuGet packages. Then uninstall for now. Okay, now rebuild again. So now add it back, go to the manage NuGet packages and JSON and install. Click OK. Okay, I think you have to use the reference. I'm not sure why the first place it is not coming. So right now it's okay. Now it is installed. json.convert.deserialize the object. Since it is a list, you have to use the enumerable or the list. Either one is fine. So server model, so which is our returning object. So now you can use the result. So now the servers is came, and then now you can add it in the view. Let's add it into the view and then go to view, and now you could see the data. So now let's build everything, and since you need to start both projects, Web API and UI, right click and select both Service API and UI, so that both our APIs will start API and UI. Then apply. This should be the multiple projects, and then click OK, and now run. Okay, both UI and Web API browsers are running right now. Let's see. Okay, so since this is a server controller, just use the server and the action is index. So now type the action is index. Yeah, first call usually takes the time. So now you could see here. So the data is displayed here. So all it is, so we created a server controller and the index action, so which is basically running here. If you select here, so it comes into the server, which is a server controller, and the index is the action method. So see this, the debugger point is coming here, and then taking the entire URL API/server/servers, and then the success code is true. Oops, I think it was late a little bit. So I think yeah, you can run it again and you can debug. So it should come, because earlier it was a timeout, but it should come. Okay, so now it is taking the client call and the base address, and now it is calling the web API. So it succeeded in getting the result. So if you see the result, which is a JSON object format, and now it is converting into the server model. So now we could see the model, the server model with data. Then we are passing this model into here. So I think now we displayed the data. I think pretty much I covered so far, which is how to display the data by using MVC controller in the UI project. So at this time I'm stopping the session, and we will get back to the creation, updation, and deleting into the next session. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice day. Yeah, bye.